In 1787, Empress Catherine II of Russia organized a trip to Crimea, which had just been annexed from the Ottoman Empire after a harsh war with Turkey that left the territory devastated. Faced with such desolation, and in view of Catherine's visit, Prince Grigory Alexandrovich Potemkin, Field Marshal of the army, governor of the region, and the emperor's favorite, had an idea. Along the route the imperial cortege would travel, he had mobile villages built. Cardboard facades of houses that were moved along to keep pace with the procession, to convey a sense of order and wealth, and to impress his beloved. Those fake constructions went down in history as the Potemkin villages. Today, historians debate whether this account is entirely true or just a legend, but either way, the concept of a Potemkin village has entered political and economic language up to our day, meaning an outward facade built to hide what's behind it, perhaps to make it seem a little better than it really is. Why start here? Because some argue that for some time now, a time frame that's, let's say, fuzzy, the web search engines like Google are nothing more than Potemkin villages. Behind the facade, behind that selection of sites we're shown and made to access, nothing is as it seems. Because in reality, the internet is no longer what it once was. The internet is dead. I am Antonio Ghezzi, and this is the first episode of Spaventevole Technophobia. How was the internet born? You can answer this question in many ways with different levels of detail and depth. You can start from its military origin with ARPANET in the 60s. You can talk about its evolution in universities and research between the late 60s and 70s, and then arrive at the 90s, when the World Wide Web takes off as a global system, open and accessible to all. But putting milestones aside, if we had to explain in a few words how this tool, where now we spend several hours a day from different devices for all sorts of reasons, came to be, we'd probably say the internet was born from the idea of sharing and connecting the largest possible amount of human knowledge in one giant network. A technological network, yes, but one that connected not only data and information, but people. Or at least data and information designed to make people interact. So to put it in precisely but quickly, the internet was supposed to be the sum of everything we did inside it, from sharing data to interacting. And by we, I mean we as people. And did we do things on the web if in just 35 years we went from one website to almost 2 billion? Is that still true today? Is the internet still a technological extension of human capabilities primarily driven by humans, by us? Well, some think not. The internet feels even more inanimate, mechanical, artificial, still a technological network indeed, but one that now connects other technological tools more than it connects us, individuals and communities of individuals. We are at the window, more observers than protagonists. In fact, doesn't it feel like we're interacting more and more with synthetic tools, content and objects? Same recurring phrases, same images, empty profiles. It's as if we're speaking, but no one's listening on the other side. As if a great deal of what we see has never passed through a human mind. Well, one might shrug and say, well, in the end, everything works, and it all seems faster, more efficient, and fairly affordable, so very democratic. But some people did raise the issue and formulated the theory we're dealing with in this episode. A theory that's soon forgotten, but refuses to die. Internet is dead. Now, I'm a professor at Politecnico di Milano, so could I kick off my podcast with popularization of a scientific study, a piece of research, maybe even one of mine? Well, no. We'll begin with what could be called a conspiracy theory. So, what's the dead internet theory? The idea is simple and radical. From 2016 onward, a large part of the web is made up of bots, artificial intelligences, and automatically generated content created to manipulate users. So less and less content and traffic from authentic, organic human activity, more and more social bots, synthetic software agents moving across websites and social media, communicating autonomously with us and among themselves. Now, don't ask me why this supposedly started exactly in 2016. Let's not get too pedantic here. Focus on the conclusion. If the internet is increasingly less organic and increasingly synthetic, then it's as if it had, in fact, died. As for the origins of the theory, the trail is hazy, but the version most people cite dates back to 2021. On a niche forum, Agra Road's Macintosh Cafe, a user calling himself Illuminati Pirate, I'd say the name says it all, posted dead internet theory, most of the internet is fake. Right at the start, our friend Illuminati Pirate offers a TLDR, too long didn't read, meaning I know you're not going to read this all, I know you have no time, so here's the idea in a nutshell. And states, large portions of the supposedly human-produced content on the internet are actually generated by artificial intelligence networks in conjunction with paid secret media influencers in order to manufacture consumers for an increasing range of newly normalized cultural products. Okay, deep breath. Let's take a beat and unpack it. The theory rests on two main components. 1. Replacement of human activity by bots and AI. A large share of interactions, content, comments, and even images would be produced by automated systems, often fake. 2. Demographic and socio-political manipulation. Behind this replacement, you'd find government agencies or big corporations using bots and AI to steer public perception, manipulate opinions, and influence consumers and voters' behavior. It's like there's a lighter base package version focused on the more or less demonstrable fact that there's a strong presence of automation on the internet, plenty of plausible-looking but fake or non-human content, and incentive systems that optimize and channel attention, if not outright manipulate behavior. In this view, search engines like Google are complicit in censoring the web by filtering out undesirable content. Undesirable to whom? To big businesses, governments, the power that be? Who knows? And by limiting what is truly indexed and presented in results. Then there's a stronger, more extreme, let's say delightfully conspirational version, which claims the US government, global giants, or other shadowy actors colluded to limit access to human content by flooding the web with synthetic, curated material designed to manipulate population, pushing them toward what to buy, how to vote, what to think, and what to aspire to be. Now, if you remember that the person pitching the theory called themselves Illuminati, what did you expect? That they wouldn't sneak in some super government plot? Yet, despite the original sin, the idea is alluring, and it bounces around the media. In 2021, The Atlantic, a cultural heavyweight, introduced it to the broader audience with an article titled, "Maybe You Missed It, but the Internet Died 5 years ago." Do you remember 2021, 2016? That kicked off the debate, which, given the conspirational overtone, might tempt some to dismiss the theory as paranoid drivel. But the problem is that the initial observation underlying the idea that bot-driven internet traffic is surging isn't baseless, and the trend isn't stopping. It's accelerating. Because in the meantime, generative AI exploded. On November 30th, 2022, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, open and free, leaving everyone slack-jawed. The chatbot mimics human linguistic interaction so well that it seems capable of autonomous thinking, and at the very least delivers sensible, useful answers or keeps you company. So everyone signs up, everyone tries it, and in just 5 days, ChatGPT hits 1 million global users. Twitter took 2 years to reach 1 million. WhatsApp 1 year, Facebook 10 months. These folks, 5 days. And that was just the avalanche trigger. Today, there are AI tools to write text, generate images, compose songs, produce videos, make presentations, everything for everyone, and all synthetic. The barrier to content creation collapses because human time is expensive, while automated content is dirt cheap. We get new channels entirely powered by AI, books for sale on Amazon written by non-existent authors, songs composed by bots. Now even Meta has joined in. For now, it suggests pre-baked AI comments we can slap under posts on Facebook. Have you noticed? Come on, how depressing. And looking ahead, Meta has officially said it intends to populate Facebook with autonomous AI accounts, complete with their own personalities and content. Overall, synthetic accounts, pages, sites, and channels multiply, recycling, remixing, rewriting, and churning out a flood of artificial content. Some studies even claim that for some years now, roughly 50% of web traffic comes from automated programs. So it's not a conspiracy anymore. It's an ecosystem in transition. All right, fascinating or terrifying. But is this theory just a dystopian thought exercise, a paranoid fantasy, or is there something true behind it? And what are its implications? Here's a useful way to look at it. Separate what's plausible from what isn't, and above all, understand the impact of what's happening. Because when you understand what's going on around you, you're less scared and you handle it better. Let's start with a technological dimension. No question, with generative AI, synthetic content production scales. Entire AI factories now churn out thousands of articles, captions, scripts every day, credible enough, yet artificial, and sometimes outright false. The phenomenon has even earned itself a now widespread nickname: AI slop, the soupy gruel that clogs the web. Some call it AI slime, or AI pollution, or AI dross, or plain old AI spam, unwanted junk. All derogatory terms coined in recent years to indicate AI-generated content produced en masse with poor quality, little effort, and no real depth, where the only thing that matters is to publish a lot, publish fast, and drive engagement regardless of editorial merit. The result is a lowering of the overall quality of information, eroding users' trust over time and posing challenges for platform moderation where this slop gets dumped. platforms react. New anti-spam policies, more focus on quality, scores and filters to counter abuse. But after all, it's an arms race, an endless cycle. Synthetic generation improves, detection improves, rinse, repeat. In the middle, users and creators hunt ever more desperately for signals of authenticity. And it's precisely on this social dimension that Internet is Dead plays on our individual and collective emotions. When feeds fill with synthetic content, the experience changes. Comments feel stereotyped, replies out of context, everything is stranger, more distant, more anonymous, and more dead. Relationships feel more fragile. If the certainty of genuine human interaction dies, you feel increasingly alone, vulnerable to emotional manipulation. Anxiety creeps in. You no longer know who you're talking to. Is it a person or a bot? And that's a major implication of the theory, even in its lighter version, leaving aside government conspiracies. On the political front, the fear is even more palpable. The use of bots and deepfake technologies to run influence or information control campaigns is scary because it undermines democracy and the health of public debate. And we have already seen examples of manipulated clips, robocalls, botnets, nudging opinions. The electoral impact of these tools so far seems variable and perhaps limited, but it's also very hard to measure. The critical point here is trust. If everything could be fake, then even the truth becomes debatable. Regardless of whether there's a grand unified plot, Illuminati, reptilians, or super science. Economically, the market for synthetic spam is booming. Demand is huge. As of 2025, in Italy, we spend on average about 5 hours and 40 minutes a day online. That's 124,000 hours per year, or 86 full days. Globally, the average is 1 hour more, 6 hours and 40 minutes. About 60% of that time is on smartphones, always in our hands, so we don't miss a thing. And when we're connected in a way or another, we consume content. Then there's a hidden but increasingly relevant demand. The demand for data and information coming from generative AI itself, from LLMs, large language models, which need to be trained on massive amounts of data. The demand is so great, these systems so voracious, that some are starting to say data is running out, that LLMs have scraped and gobbled everything, so the real challenge will be finding new original data for training. Faced with this demand, supply has organized efficiently. How? In the spirit of a new industrial revolution, it automated the process. We now have content factories for mass production and content farms for intensive cultivation. All of this even creates an interesting loop. AI generates synthetic content to feed the insatiable data demand of other AI. As human data dries up, AI feeds on itself, and we're pushed to the sideline. What's more, some studies suggest that this apparently super efficient loop actually degrades the input data and thus the performance of AI models, pushing them towards crash, so-called model collapse. So AI training becomes a dog chasing its tail. There's also a subtler, potentially devastating threat. The epistemic dimension. How we know the world through learning and gathering information to build what we treat as scientific certainties, as opposed to opinions, things we believe without any guarantee of truth. The avalanche of artificially generated content confronts us with a doubt. If everything could be synthetic and potentially false, and if telling truth from falsehood becomes practically impossible, then we no longer have certainties. Then even the truth becomes negotiable. That's the liar's dividend, the advantage the liar enjoys. Those who first spread disinformation can then, when caught, claim that a true piece of information is actually fake or fabricated. The deeper outcome is a corrosion of trust in truth itself. Let's hit pause and take stock. Looking back at recent years and reflecting more coolly on the dead internet theory, what do we have in our hands? We have an hypothesis that in its original form takes a few real data points and projects them hyperbolically into conspirational frenzy. But if we strip away the most extreme component, the idea of a single master plot to control population and restrict human activity, what remains is a prophecy about a future that is materializing. A prophecy articulated, by the way, back when innovations like generative AI didn't yet exist, but which is now accelerating towards realization, with many interlinked dimensions of impact. With the rise of mass generative AI tools, the fact that human-authored organic content will be outnumbered by synthetic content is becoming inevitable. What's more, it'll be a vicious cycle where LLMs are trained on data generated by AI itself. If we accept the equation human content equals living internet and synthetic content equals dead internet, then the internet isn't dead yet, but it's probably dying. Or perhaps it's fulfilling its destiny to become undead, a human-machine hybrid environment where the fusion is so seamless the two are indistinguishable. And who created and fed this zombie internet? We did. We built an infrastructure that connected everything and everyone with almost no barriers, giving any content the chance to speed down that highway. We democratized technology and access to information, often making information a bit more lightweight, more accessible, more pop, so it could flow faster and reach everyone. We did it for humanity's good. But the pretty much unintended byproduct stares us in the face every day. We're not just democratizing the internet, so empowering the demos, the people, to enable mass human access. We're also more or less consciously technocratizing it to enable access to other technological tools which end up impersonating us. Not because they have the consciousness or will, they simply do what they can, what their design allows. We have lowered the bar so far, how hard it's to use a tool, how hard it's to grasp the content, that we've gotten used to handling every day objects that, frankly, a machine could produce. We've rightly designed and implemented an internet that's accessible and full of snackable content, easy to consume and digest. Given those characteristics, who produces such content more efficiently than a machine that learns from us, systematizes, and scales? We've built an environment with technology and for technology. No wonder technology thrives there, and no wonder we sometimes feel a bit crushed, a bit alien. What matters is being aware of where we are and where we're going, so we can choose better what to do. Above all, so we're not too afraid of the future. So what should we do in an increasingly synthetic internet? Let's just give ourselves a few heuristics, simple rules for coping. First, even when overwhelmed by global scale phenomena, remember, we're not alone. By definition, the more global the phenomenon, the more people are affected. And the platforms know this, social network included. They themselves, though part of the problem, are beginning to ask how to monitor and curb excesses. For them, it's less about ethics than interest and survival. If trust in the community, relationships, and authenticity crumbles, users switch platforms and the business fails. At the same time, the very companies behind generative AI tools are seeking new ways to generate and gather original data, including data from genuine human interactions, whose value rises as we learn empirically that recursively training AI on AI-generated data collapses models. So, at an aggregate level, the tech companies themselves are trying to introduce verification tools, control practices, and content tracking to protect users and prevent irrational panics that might drive them off the platform. And at a personal, individual level, how do we face this? Essentially, when we encounter content, we should pause, breathe, and try to recognize it before we accept it as true or authentic, internalize it, or impulsively share it. We should check sources, do the bare minimum of fact-checking, which ultimately means dusting off and applying some good old critical thinking. And then, one last thing. Balance your mind diet. Do you remember the wonderful movie A Beautiful Mind? The story of John Nash, the brilliant mathematician who suffered from mental illness that caused hallucinations of people, events, places. There's one scene I can't forget. In 1994, at age 68, Nash was nominated to receive both the Nobel and the Abel Prizes for his game theory contributions. In the movie, the prize organizers sent an emissary to check he's fit to appear at a public ceremony. Asked whether he still has paranoid hallucinations, he replies, "I still see things that aren't there. I just choose not to acknowledge them. Like a diet of the mind, I choose not to indulge in certain appetites." We need something similar, translated into our daily habits. We've gotten used to so many carbs of the mind, simple, easy to digest content, not useless, but mainly gratifying in the very short term. We should remember to add enough proteins of the mind to balance it out. More complex content to consume, richer, more substantial, and much less likely to be entirely artificial. Because when anything becomes totalizing, it's dangerous. And we can't live on slop alone. We spend about 6 hours a day online. That's a quarter of our lives. If most of that time is spent gobbling synthetic, superficial content, we're probably not making the best use of the time we've got. So, how to close a topic this broad and evolving? With a grand, comprehensive model to explain it all? No, that would be a tad ambitious. Let's do it the light way. Something we'll bring along in future episodes. I present the Screwdometer. It measures how scary the idea, theory, or phenomenon we've discussed is, and how much we, as people, would be, well, screwed if it really came to pass. Heads up, we're not judging probability, how likely it is, or timing, where it will occur. We're only asking, if it happens, what happens to us as humanity? On this Screwdometer, 0 means no fear. The new is good, innovation and technology are our friends, they help us improve. 10 means total annihilation of humanity. The new leads to extinction. Cute, right? So where does the dead internet theory land on the Screwdometer? What's its scare score? For internet is dead in its strong version, I'd say a solid 7 out of 10. Imagining a shadowy central entity orchestrating technology to manipulate minds and control us, shoving us to the margins of an ever more virtual society, isn't exactly our dream future. For the weaker version, I'd give it a 3 out of 10. The tilt toward artificial synthetic content, mass-produced and mass-spammed, doesn't threaten our survival, also because there are countermeasures and good practices to defend ourselves. But it's not harmless either, and it can evolve in hard-to-control directions. Do these scores feel right to you? Subscribe to the Spaventevole Technophobia channels and leave your feedback. If you're not a bot.